So here we are now, 31st week, the Gospel of Matthew. We're here in Matthew 23 with Jesus observing that the scribes and Pharisees, these great leaders of the Jewish community, that there's a certain problem here. He says that they're highly educated. You might want to listen to what they're saying, but don't do what they're doing, because most of the things they're doing are done to attract people's notice. So it's a particular form of vanity and pride. They think that because of their education and their strong will, they're going to rise and ascend to God much easier, much quicker, with a greater facility than other people. And Jesus, in fact, says, no, that's not the case at all. In the tradition of the church, there certainly is this notion of ascending the mountain. So you think of Moses, who ascended the mountain and then received the gift of the Decalogue. We had something of that last week with Jesus referring to the great commandment to love God with all our heart and soul and strength, and our neighbour as ourselves, that twofold division. He received it as 10 words and then back he went. So he climbed up the mountain and certainly experienced God. So that's true. Jesus himself was transfigured on a mountain, either mountain of Tabor or Mount Hermon. The scholars aren't exactly sure which one, but he certainly ascended up there, and he took up James and Peter and John. Up they went and ascended the mountain. It was one tremendous experience for them. There's no doubt about that. Sorry, it's a bit windy. And so that's true. And then, of course, you get people like St. John of the Cross. St. John of the Cross, who wrote many spiritual classics. One of them, of course, was called the Ascent of Mount Carmel. So there definitely is this idea of ascending to God. But there is also very much part of the tradition that if you want to ascend to God, then you have to descend to humility. So you get people like Saint Therese of Lisieux, of the child Jesus of the Holy Face. I love that name. She's called those three names. An extraordinary woman, just a very simple French nun, lived for 24 years and was commanded to write a book called The Story of a Soul. When she died, they pulled it out of a drawer. They didn't make much of it. She wrote the whole autobiography of her own life under obedience. They didn't take any notice of it. When she died, they took it out and realized there was something there, and then it was published, and around the world it went. It was an amazing story, and to this day she performs very, very many miracles. I would recommend you go to her for some of the smallest things and some of the biggest things that you need. Saint Therese of Lisieux, of the child Jesus of the Holy Face. Now, in that particular book I referred to, she says, yes, you want to ascend the mountain with God and scale the mountain with God. She says, yes, but in fact, you've got to descend. You've got to go down to the fertile valley of humility. The fertile valley of humility, where Jesus is waiting for you. It's an amazing phrase. So she would say that, of course, because the very first descent, the greatest descent that has ever taken place of humility or into humility, is the second person of the Blessed Trinity, the Word, becoming flesh, coming and living among us. That's the first descent. And the second one is his descent into sin. So in the second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 5, verse 21, I do encourage you to go and have a look at it and meditate on it. St. Paul remarkably says that the sinless one, reference to Jesus of Nazareth, the Christ, the sinless one has been made into sin for us. And he is the way we are reconciled to the Father. And he is the way that peace is brought into this world. If we let his embrace come to him, we accept the descent of Christ, not only to humanity, but into our very sin. And that's what the mystery of Jesus' death on the cross is. So yes, we do want to ascend to God, but first we have to descend into the fertile valley of humility, where God is assuredly waiting for each and every one of us.